Imagine losing 190 pounds over 7 years. Sounds impossible, right? But I met a young woman who did just that. Her story isn't about weight loss, it's about success in life. Today in this video, I'm going to show you what she did to achieve that and how her strengths are a perfect match with those character traits of highly successful people in life. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Erkka Suvanto. Many of you call me EJ. I'm the guy who's on social media building a legacy and passing on all life and business lessons to each and every one of you. In my intro, I mentioned that I met this very interesting young woman who had done the unthinkable, lost 190 pounds over 7 years. I want to tell you her story, but before doing that, let's go back to the 3 character traits of highly successful people. These are not based on observations only. These are actually based on research and data plus real life success stories. Let's go and take a closer look. Number 1 on our list of highly successful people is that they often have what we call a superiority complex. In other words, these people have their big why. And that oftentimes is that they believe that they were meant to do something big in life, change our world, change our lives completely, improve our lives. If you think about Steve Jobs, he didn't start Apple just to be average, but he deep down felt that he can change people's lives, create something so unique that we have never seen before. And that he did. I'm meant to do something big, finding your big why, and that's what really keeps these people moving forward. And oftentimes, in the early stages of their careers, they are the only ones who believe in themselves. But they believe in themselves so much that it also leads them to taking action massively. Number 2, crippling insecurity. This might be a surprise, but many successful people are deeply insecure inside. They feel that they are never enough. Whatever they do is never good enough, and that keeps them moving forward. But rather than letting that crippling insecurity paralyze them, these people turn that into action. And it's like this fire that's burning inside of them that moves them forward. That's where the word big fuel comes from. Number 3, impulse control, self-control, or in other words, delayed gratification. This is one of the things that I talk about personally a lot. And if you think about greatness overall, you could argue that it takes at least a decade to be really good at something. And there are very few of us who can actually delay the gratification long enough and make sure that they can find the satisfaction in those daily little steps and little actions, little achievements, instead of looking at that massive goal down the road. Because people who are at the end of the day successful, they have the ability to delay that gratification. They don't need that instant feedback that so many of us need. They are able to see that 10-year goal so far out in the horizon that it's right there. It's like a lighthouse and I can see the light. It's very dim, but I can see it. But then right after that, they can keep their head down and focus on that one day at a time and take, again, massive action. Diving deeper into that very inspiring story of that young woman who was able to lose 190 pounds over 7 years. Her lesson number 1, when I asked about what those key success factors were in her journey, was focus on tomorrow. She told me that what made it possible for her, despite all the adversity, all the struggles, you need to identify what those tiny little small steps are. You can't focus on that 190 pound or 85 kilo target all at once. It's just way too overwhelming if you try, because the journey is so long. It's like running marathon times 10. In other words, like we just talked about, it's the same thing as being able to delay that gratification. Did she have trouble, bumps in the road along the way? Oh, for sure. She told me that once she relapsed and she gained back almost 70 pounds. Think about it. So you come all the way, that was like year 3 or year 4. She had lost a lot of weight, not all 190 pounds yet, but then all of a sudden, in 6 months, she gained back roughly 70 pounds. Think about that. Instead of being paralyzed by that temporary loss, so to say, she looked back and asked herself, okay, you've done it once. You have all the tools in your toolbox. You can do it again. She hopped right back on that saddle, started riding the horse again, and was able to lose that 70 that she regained and then get back on that successful journey. And this is something I've been talking about on social media a lot myself. And majority of the feedback I have got via DMs back was that I don't know what I'm talking about when I told people to track the inputs, not the outputs. That's the same thing as saying that identify what your winning actions are and focus on those, and don't worry about that 10-year goal down the road. People are still, in my opinion, way too result oriented, which makes us unhappy at the end of the day. Because overall in life, you win and you lose. And oftentimes, life is a series of micro losses with an occasional big win. But if your happiness is based on those wins and losses, meaning your outputs, I would argue that you're probably unhappy most of the time. When you find that recipe for success, which is to identify your winning actions, make sure that you enjoy the journey and the process, that's when you're onto something. Her second lesson, being able to become humble and ask for help. Humility is such an important lesson in our lives. And that's actually the thing that she mentioned as the most important lesson out of this whole journey. When you're willing to lose, put yourself out on the line and understand that when you hit your rock bottom, in her case, the peak weight, you need help. Many of us are never that humble in life that we are brave enough to ask for help. It sounds silly actually, if you think about it. But if I look back at my own life, this has been one of my biggest issues, not being coachable enough. Nowadays, I have mentors, advisors in my life, people I look up to, the definition of a true friendship, somebody who is always there for you, similar interests, and is actually able to make you better. And those people are the ones I really look for nowadays in my friendships and for a future partner in my life. But she understood that she doesn't have all the answers. She needs people in her life, coaches, trainers, and her supporting staff who can make her better. And that's really, really valuable in life. As I said, I was too stubborn in the past, 10 or 15 years ago maybe, doing everything by myself because I wanted to test and see how good I truly am. Tying this back to those 3 character traits of highly successful people: deep insecurity, crippling insecurity. I would argue, in her case, based on what I talked to her about, that this did not stop her. Like crippling insecurity doesn't stop other successful people either. They actually use that as big fuel. That drives them forward. It's like that gasoline that you pour in that fire fueled her growth, because she understood that she has to be humble, ask for help, and then take massive action. We're all clueless. That's one of my favorite sayings in the world. Whether you're 20, 40, 50, 60, or 70, we're all clueless. Kids think that their parents have all the answers. That's not the case. We're all clueless. We don't have a clue. We all have insecurity problems. But the biggest difference between losers and so-called winners is that the winners always take action. They don't wait for that perfect package or data or all the answers. They understand that they'll find the necessary and the needed answers when they just start the journey. And that's what this young lady did as well. Her lesson number 3, how fear and belief in the future were strong motivators for her. Her whole weight loss journey started when one day she visited a local supermarket where they had these free cholesterol tests, and her reading was off the charts, and that completely freaked her out. She finally understood that if she's not going to do anything about that weight that she was carrying, she was going to die early and young. She was not a mother at that point, but roughly midway through her journey, she became a mother, and that of course made it even more of a motivator for her, just to make sure that she's there for her son. So what made her start? Fear of not living, literally. When we hit rock bottom in life, that's when we ask for help, like we just discussed, and then that's when people start taking action. But overall in life, we have to remember this. People do things for 2 reasons, or there are 2 motivators for us: pain and pleasure. We either run away from pain or we move toward pleasure. So everything pretty much falls under these 2 categories. And out of these 2, pain oftentimes is the strongest motivator, like in her case as well. Tying these back to our 3 character traits of super successful people. So I would argue that in the beginning, insecurity, plus then later on the superiority complex, her belief that she can do great things in life. She believed in herself. She had so much conviction that she can do this, she can pull this off. But in the beginning, insecurity is oftentimes the same as fear. You're afraid of losing something and you're insecure about certain things, your weight, the way you look, about your health. And then that particular fear, in the case of successful people, that turns into massive action, which was luckily her case. In the end, let's summarize and look at what highly successful people do to get a lot of things done in life, including this young lady that we talked about today. You need your big vision, your big why. You need your big drive and big fuel to get stuff done and keep going. And then in the end, you need to be able to delay your gratification, move the goalposts so that you have the persistence and that long-term vision. Her case was no different. She believed in herself, so that big plan ahead of her of losing all that extra weight to be healthy and be there for her son. Her drive, her big fuel was there that kept her going. She was humble and was willing to ask for help. And then last but not least, in her case, she was able to break her goal down into daily actions and keep going no matter what, because there are plenty of hard days. I guarantee you that, no matter what the journey is. It could be about starting a business, become really good at that, going after your corporate career, losing all that weight, or any other big dream in life. Now it's your turn. I want to turn it back to you guys. If this video inspired you, please share your comments, like the video, and subscribe to my channel. I would highly appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and until next time, bye.